All right, well, welcome everyone.
Hi everyone.
This is the StatPREP Past, Present, and Future webinar on April 21st, 2022. I am Kate Kozak, or Kathryn Kozak. I'm one of the leadership team members. I'm one of the co-PIs of the grant of StatPREP, and I teach at Coconino Community College in Flagstaff, Arizona.
I'm Ambika Silva. I'm also on the leadership team for StatPREP. I teach in Los Angeles County, California at College of the Canyons.
All right. So we are recording this today. So just to let you know, this is being recorded, and we're being supported by the MAA today. So we want to kind of start just with a little quick gathering of some data. We'd like to know how many StatPREP webinars have you actually attended or watched, and there'll be a Zoom poll out there. So thank you, Grace. If you would please participate in this, that'd be great. All right. I think we have everybody who's participated. All right, I think it's sharing right now. Is it sharing?
Yep, what's up?
Okay. So as you can see, we have some of you who have never attended any, and then some of you have attended more than 5, so 5 or more. So that's great. We have been doing these webinars for the last 2 years, and so they're all recorded, so you can actually go watch them and see them in the future. So we want to talk a little bit about where StatPREP has been in the past. StatPREP is it was created by an agreement between the MAA, AMATIC, and the ASA. We decided we wanted to do a new grant. MAA wanted to kind of create a new StatPREP grant that they had, and they decided they wanted to do StatPREP, and they wanted to focus at 2-year colleges. So that's why they involved the ASA because of stats, and they involved AMATIC because of the 2-year college information. And this is one of the first times I've ever seen a grant where it's just 3 different organizations that get together and support each other in this endeavor. We applied for an NSF grant, and we then wrote our grant, applied for the grant, and we were able to get it. The purpose of the grant is to basically to help faculty teach data set skills to their introductory statistics class. We were focusing a lot on 2-year college teachers because they teach a lot of the introductory statistics, but we also realized that we have people from all different institutions. One of the goals of StatPREP was to teach data-centric methods to faculty, help faculty learn how to incorporate these data-centric methods into their classes, and also to facilitate how to use the real and enormous data sets in introductory statistics classes. We did this by empowering faculty to teach students to use computer or statistical software instead of the calculators. We're trying to get away from the idea of using calculators. We do using some free online tools that we created. We've created things called little apps, and we encourage participants to stay involved with each other through a discussionary board that was created by the MAA.
So Kate mentioned the little apps, and this is a really powerful set of tools that are interactive, easy to kind of click and drag and that sort of thing, and to really be able to show some important topics and do it in a really data-centric way. They're interactive, they're able to be done from any computer and even from phones. And you can see some of the graphics that are on there, and that's really fun for students to be able to play around. And these are real data sets that have been put into it. And I think this is a great way to do something fun and use real data and big data in your classroom to teach these topics.
One of the other things that we actually have been not pushing, but we've been suggesting is to use RStudio. RStudio is actually an industry standard. A lot of people are using RStudio when they teach when they do work out in the in industry. And so we wanted to give our students the ability to have some exposure to that software system. So we actually have tutorials that will help people, mostly faculty, learn RStudio. I know when I started teaching with RStudio for the first time, I had no idea how to do anything on it. And it would have been nice to have had some tutorials that would have helped me to figure out how to go through and learn the processes besides what I did use. So we have these tutorials that are available on our website. We've also had some in-person workshops that we've been doing over the last few years. We've had them, and we started in Los Angeles and Minneapolis, St. Paul. We then had them for the second year. And then we also added in Hartford and Seattle for that second year. Then Hartford and Seattle went for another second year also, and we added Washington, DC and Dallas, Fort Worth into this. And then this year we will be having Fort Myers. R was the focus for the first few workshops, but then the little apps were introduced and they became, as it became created, and we started teaching from those. We will be adding more materials to help students and faculty learn how to teach the materials.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen, but if you can, let me copy and paste this. If you can you can do it on your computer or you can do it on your phone, but you want to just, if you Google or search or a Kahoot it, and it's going to ask for a pin. So I'm going to give you a pin in just a moment. Okay, so if you can go to Kahoot it, you can kind of have two screens if you're doing it on your computer, or you can do it on your phone. You shouldn't have to do any login. You should just have to put in a username. You don't have to put in your real name. When you're searching for it, it should be the second thing that pops up. It'll say enter a game pin. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start it unless I see in the chat someone needs a little bit more time. When I hit start, it's going to, if you've never done Kahoot before, this is free to do. And again, no login. There are paid services, but this is a free part of it. And it's going to pop up on the screen a question with some multiple choice answers. And then it'll be based, you're going to get points based on the time that you punch in your answer, as well as if you got the right answer or not. So if two people got the same right answer, one may get more points than the other because of the speed that they did it. All right, let's start. There's only a few questions. We just want to give you a little taste of some of the things that we've used in the past. And on your computer screen, on your other one, or on your tablet or whatever you're using this on, that's where you're going to see where you're going to click on.
Well, that's nice to see that everybody got it right.
So of course we're about the grand StatPREP, but stat fun sounds kind of fun.
Yes.
So now it'll calculate the score so you can see based on who answered and at what time, then you get points. Let's do the next one. Excellent. So that's real and enormous data sets. Big data is what we wanted to push, and we love having real data sets to use. All right, last one. This is your chance to get ahead.
Yes, we definitely do not do anything computing by hand. We don't believe that that's a very useful thing. Mike, you won. Oh, I'm sorry, Mike didn't win. Mike came in third, AR came in second, A and Y came in first. All
Excellent.
right.
Good job, everyone. All right, I'm going to stop sharing. Kate, if you want to continue the PowerPoint.
Okay, so that was just something kind of fun. We like to kind of have different things we do. We know that the past was kind of fast we went through. We want to just give you kind of a taste of why we did this. Now we want to go in kind of what our present is about. What are we currently working on? We've been doing webinars, as I was saying. This is actually our last webinar. And so we're kind of sad about that idea, but we do have webinars. We've also been doing monthly newsletters. Those also are coming to an end because unfortunately the grant is coming to an end this year. So this is the last, a lot of things we're doing.
So the webinars we're doing, this one again is we're putting it in present because we're literally in the present. But some things that we have done in the past, as well as are there available now in the present, are things on the Little Apps, data science, RStudio, teaching methods. So there's lots of things, and I put in the YouTube channel from MAA that's being worked on right now. I'm also going to put in another link on our StatPREP.org website. So there are recordings available. If you, some of you said that you hadn't gone to any of these webinars, they are there and recorded and able to be seen. So if there was something from the Little Apps that is going to intrigue you, then go back, and we encourage you to go back and watch that, as well as things on R and learning about programming and some really wonderful stuff. We've also done a series. Oh, sorry, Kate, go.
No, go ahead.
We've also done a series of newsletters, which we are doing our last one right now, that will be put out, and they have a variety of wonderful things, including how to use Little Apps in your classroom, different statistics books, not just textbooks, but reading as well as classroom discussion topics, which was really important during pandemic when a lot of us were online and being able to talk about things. And I'll put in the link for the newsletters as well.
So I wanted to give you kind of a timeline of what we've been doing over the last few years. The grant started actually in 2017. 2018, 2017, we had our first workshops. Those were the ones that were in California and Minnesota. And then in 2018, we actually started writing the little apps. So that's kind of where they came about. They came about because of what we learned from our first StatPREP workshops. Since then, we've been developing more little apps. We actually developed some classroom activities. Those are also available on our website for you to use in your classes. You can either use them as group work activities in your classes, or you can just be going through them as kind of a directed discussion in your courses about the little apps and what they can be used for. Those were kind of developed. Then in 2020, we redesigned the little apps, and in the process, we rewrote the little app activities that would go with them. And 2020 also was our wonderful year of the pandemic, and so we actually had to cancel our summer workshop for 2020. In 2021, we tooled our workshops to be virtual workshops. So last summer, we held a lot of virtual workshops. One of them was actually on how to create a data science program at your school. So if you're interested in creating a data science program at your school, you can actually, there is a recording of that webinar that can help you see what 4 other people did to create those. And then, as we were saying, we are now into our 2022, our last year of the grant, and we will be having some information going on. We're going to have some webinars, not webinars, we're going to have some workshops that we're going to be doing in the future. Speaking of the future, let's go into the future. Our first thing we're going to be doing in the future is we will be having We are part of the NSF STEM for All video showcase. This is actually a video showcase that shows different videos from different STEM grants that were presented or funded by NSF. StatPREP is one of these grants, and we will have a video that each one has a less than 4-minute video you can watch. You can then ask questions online to the presenters and other visitors that are going there. It's a free activity. It's happening May 10th through the 17th. And you can log into, go to this website, and then you'll be able to join into the organization and talking to people and going around and watching them. It's a great way. I've actually been doing it now for a few years. It's a great way to learn about what other grants have been funded by the NSF that might help us in teaching. You can look into different areas and your different foci. Ambika, were you going to do this one?
Yeah, so we're going to be doing our last in-person. So we're really excited to be back in person and doing a workshop. So in this workshop, we will be going over the little apps, how to use them in a classroom. We'll be doing the R tutorials, as well as spending some time actually working in RStudio, which is wonderful as well, from some experts in R. And so there may be slots available, and I'm going to put in the link, the email, if you would like to attend and you're able to come to Florida Southwestern State College in Fort Myers, Florida on May 20 to 21st, then we encourage you to email and see if slots are still available.
Thank you. I forgot I was supposed to do that one. So I will do this one. We are also involved in Open Math. Open Math is another NSF grant that is actually through the MAA. And StatPREP will be doing a presentation, it's virtual presentation about how to redesign, utilize technology to teach data-centric statistics. Ours is a 4-day workshop. There is a cost for these workshops, and the registration date is the 29th of April, but I don't know if it's a hard deadline, but we'd love to have you sign up for that. Try to make it for that deadline. And then you can be able to go into it. Ours is actually July 11th through the 14th, I believe it is. Is that right, Ambika?
I think so.
I think so. And it's a virtual, so you can go to those, but there's other ones you can also attend. You can only attend one, I believe, but there's different ones you can also attend if you would like to do that.
MAA Math Fest is coming up in the beginning of August. So this is a huge national, not just for stats, but for all math. And we will be doing a mini course for 2 days. So if you want to attend that, then I'm going to put in the link for oh, thank you, Deirdre, from July 11th through 14th for the Open Math.
Thank
for
you.
Math Fest, we will be on August 4th and August 5th. If you want to register for the mini course, you register for Math Fest in general, and then we'll ask if you want to add on any of the mini courses, and you'll be able to see ours in there, and it has StatPREP in the name. And in that one, we will be going over little apps as well as the tutorials. We won't have time to do the RStudio deep dive like we will with our Florida. So, but we will definitely be hitting some of the topics that we have talked about today.
And I wanted to mention that this is in person, so you do need to be in Philadelphia to do this one. MAA Connect is how we actually connect with each other. StatPREP is a community on MAA Connect. StatPREP, because of it being for MAA members and ASA members and AMATIC members, it actually is open to anybody, whether they're an MAA member or not. So you can actually join this community, even if you're not a member of the MAA. We have a webinar on how to actually connect onto this community. And this is where we actually get together and we ask questions and we say, you know, this is what I'm doing. I need some help with this, or I tried this little app activity and it really worked, or I had some problems here. And it gives a chance for you to kind of connect with other people throughout the country to get helps. Some of us, we're the only stats teacher at our schools. So this gives us a place where we can actually be involved with others that are doing similar activities around their schools.
All right, so we're going to be doing another, just kind of another thing that we can do virtually or in person. So I'm going to put in a link into the chat, and I'm going to share my screen. So you should come up with this, and you do not have to have this is, again, it's free for what I'm using here, and you don't have to be logged in or anything here. So we have two questions that we wanted to pose to everyone. How can we convince fellow faculty to teach stats in a more modern way, using real data, using technology, focusing on concepts rather than computation? Or I want you to answer, what does a modern stats course mean to you? In the bottom right, you're going to see this plus sign, and you could do a subject if you want to, and then write something, and then you're going to post it, and it'll pop up on the screen. So we'll give you a few minutes to do that. I like that meaningful data, not just doing canned data sets from a textbook, but doing something that's meaningful, I think is so wonderful for both students and for us to really look at things.
I agree. One of the things that we actually have on our website is a listing of places where you can go to find some meaningful data. All of the little apps use meaningful data. Most of them use what is called NHANES, which is the National Health and Environmental NHANES, National Health and Nutrition Environmental Studies. There we go. It's collected by the federal government. It's great data to be used, but we also have other places where you can find great data. There's a lot of different pieces that are out there.
I see offer training and resources for current and user-friendly technology. I think that's really important on how to convince fellow faculty to teach stats in a more modern way. Everyone is so busy with our classes, with everything we're doing. It can be difficult to think about implementing something new into our classroom. And that's why I love the little apps, because they are so user-friendly. They are easy to kind of click around, and you're not going to break anything. You have all this great data in there. And that's why we wanted to do these workshops, to show folks how to do it, because we wanted to make sure people feel comfortable doing the technology.
And I want to also say that what is nice about them is that they're all the same. So you learn how to use one little app, you go to do a different little app, and they're all the same kind of interface. So that makes life a little bit easier on us. And there are webinars on how to use the little apps. The student activities are great because they allow you to actually use them in your classes for group work and active learning. And there's also webinars on how to do things with the technology, how to use RStudio and so forth. And RStudio sounds scary, but really it's much easier than trying to teach your students how to use things on your graphing calculator or on Excel. And Ambika made a comment there about not breaking things. And I wanted to point out that you can't actually break RStudio. We all think we can, but you can't break these things. And so there's great ways of working with all these informations. Even though the grant will be ending, we still have the workshop coming up. We still have the virtual things this summer. We're also, I forgot to mention, and we forgot to mention, we're going to be at ECOTS to do a little presentation. So ECOTS is also a great place for you to go to get some information. get some training and so forth, get new ideas for teaching. And so we really highly suggest you look at these, but our webinars, even though the grant's leaving, it's going to be ending, our webinars are going to be there. The recordings will stay. So they'll still have access to those and can always see how to use information from here on. I'm talking too much. If you want to put any more comments down, please do.
We wanted to show Padlet to show like, this is kind of like what in person we would do, is doing like sticky notes or Post-its and put up our ideas and everything when we want to have like discussions. And it allows people to give a chance to do this online where everyone can kind of see what you're posted, but still doing it anonymous or add a name and that sort of thing. And so it's, I like using this for just kind of getting ideas out. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Kate, if you want to go on.
Yes, I'm trying to start things up again. Sorry.
No, you're good.
All right. So this isn't just about us telling you what StatPREP has. We actually will be doing, we'd like some feedback of what we're going to be doing in the future. We're doing both virtual and in person this year. We'd like to kind of talk to you about how to blend what we learned over the pandemic into our event this summer. And we'd like to kind of have you either write in your chat or unmute yourself and kind of share, are there any ideas of things that you think would be helpful for us to do in the rest of the summer, rest of our workshops? Oops, sorry. So if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself, or like I said, just put it in the chat. We'd love to know what you would like to see happening, or what you might have learned from the pandemic that you found were useful to when you were teaching, and what we could be doing virtually or in person to help people out. Nobody wants to share. Did anybody, I mean, we know we all were teaching online well, not everybody. I think there were some schools that actually were still in person during the pandemic. There were those of us who were not. And you know, what did you maybe learn about what you were doing that? I know one of the things I learned was I like to do a lot of active learning in my classrooms. And I ended up finding out how to use Google Docs more, to where I could share those Google Docs with my students and they could then be working online with each other. And I'm actually now using that in my in-person classes, so that using the Google Docs and having them share that information has just expanded right back to my classrooms. And it's saving me paper. I don't have to actually copy off things for my classes. And I just have it all in Google Docs. Anybody else have anything great that they've learned or used over the last 2 years?
Okay, well, I mean, I've been using this program called Stats Cloud that's on the web, and it's basically a whole statistics platform, and it's very simple to use. So, and students seem to like it.
Would you mind sharing that in the chat? Because I'm not sure I know
Sure.
that one.
Let me get the link. There we go. It's completely free and there's nothing to sign up for. So,
How nice is that?
and it does also include an R code if you wanted to get into what the R code was.
Right.
Oh, that's neat.
That is very neat. Okay. Anybody else have anything to share? we don't want to put people on the spot, but we also are just, this is part of our community. Our community is to share things that we're doing and find out how things are working for each other. One of the things we are looking for is what we want to do for the rest of the grant and how to kind of disseminate the information from what we've done in the grant to make sure that people know more about the StatPREP. And we don't want the ideas to end with the grant. We want to make sure that these concepts stay on. We're proposing doing what's an MAA notes volume. The notes volume is where you put together articles and concepts and so forth on the MAA website that can be shared with people. We're also can consider when we do that to also create a repository where we can put our information, our actual worksheets, our ideas of why you want to do this, other data sets we can be using and so forth to help with this. We'll call it right at the moment StatPREP in a box. And we'd kind of like to know from you what would be kind of helpful for you to be able to say, hey, this is a place I can go and see information. We will still make sure we have all the videos that we've created that are there so we can access those. But is there anything else that would be useful for you to say, I can then send this to my colleagues to say, this is why you want to actually teach statistics from a data-centric point of view, or I need to learn more about how to do things on a certain topic and I want to make changes in my department. I actually just made changes in my state to where we changed the statewide agreement of what a stat course, introductory stats course should contain. And so we want to know what would be useful for you to make changes in your department that we could put into this. We're just starting this process. So we'd love to know more and any help you can give us. I'm definitely going to put in that one that we just got. So again, we would love it if you could either just put it in the chat or unmute yourself and just talk about what would be some things that would be useful for you to help make changes or useful for you to actually teach differently in your classes. And we don't want to put people on the spot, but again, we're trying to learn and see what's best for people. Yeah, so if you do think of things and you would like to share those ideas, you can certainly put those email either to Ambika or you can also email me. I'm putting my email in there too. I would definitely put down what the different states might have been doing, and not just Arizona's, but other states might be doing. That's a great idea. I like that idea. I think having ideas of how to test students would be very useful. I know for me, I give mostly take-home tests, and I hear people say, oh, we can't do that because we don't want them to cheat. And so the way I solve that problem is I make my students take random samples. So therefore, it's really hard for them to all cheat if they all have to have a different sample and then work with that sample. It's not easy to grade necessarily, but it's still a way for them to look in data and see things a little bit differently. But that's a great idea. So thank you, Lori. But definitely having more ideas about that. And Ambika was putting down that when she gives her tests in person, because she doesn't give take-home tests like me, she doesn't want her students to have access to the computers in classroom, or they don't have access to those. She just gives them kind of a printout of the little app, or I give my students printouts from the RStudio, and that way they don't have to create it, but they can still read it. And part of it is just being able to read the information. Any other ideas? One thing I would like to do is show you the StatPREP website so you can see that site and see what it looks like. Ambika, if you can put that in the link in the chat, or actually I can do that. So this is our website itself. This is our NSF STEM for Work, NSF STEM for All workshop video showcase. There we go, video from a couple years ago. So we did do this a few times. And we, like I said, we've been involved in this for a while. So we have that video here that we posted. You can learn a little bit more about StatPREP here. We also have more about who we are. So you can find out some information about who the StatPREP team is, what StatPREP and MAA is about. We also happen to have our workshop information. So if you want to come in here and you want to find out more about that workshop and you say, I'd like to go to that workshop, you can actually click on this. Again, you can either email Rona, who's the host of this, or programs@maa.org, information about where it is. And if you want to also see what we're going to be doing on those 2 days, you can do that. We also have our little apps. So you can also go into the little apps, see what those look like, get into those, see kind of what they are exposed to and what they look like. And I'll go back to the little apps in a second. We also have class materials that you can be using. Those are the little apps. But we also have textbook companions. So a lot of us use different textbooks, and we know a couple of the textbooks that people use. And so we have that information for you to say, I'm using this textbook. Okay, you're using this textbook. You can then use this information to figure out how do you fill this in. So like a lot of us use Triola. I don't know why that link's not working. I know I have that in there. So I'll fix this link. I'm the webmaster. Oh, they're up here. And so you can go into these and say, I'm going to use Triola. When can I use one of the low apps? And so we actually have a listing of their entire table of contents, and we can say this is a good place to use this little app in this information. So those are useful for you. If you don't use Triola or Michael Sullivan's, I have a textbook, or David Diaz's book, then you could at least see kind of where we think and suggest you use this information. Another thing is also outreach. Outreach has our webinars, our newsletters, the tutorials themselves, and also that list of data sets. If I go back to the low apps, we also have the low app activities. Like I said, these are pieces you can use. There's a write-up about most of these in the newsletter, so you can see kind of what they're about. And there would be Word documents. If you go into one, I'll pick on common and rare. There's a Word document, a PDF document that you can use. And then you can have your students go access it and play around with these little apps. These are the activities. And then the little app, like I said, they all look the same. And they all have kind of a data set you can pick on. We have, like I said, 2 different data sets here. We also have little apps. You have different source packages. Some of these are textbooks. So like we have Triola's in here. We have Lock 5s in here. We have Sullivan's in here. We also have Mosaic. Mosaic is actually a data set that's shows up in RStudio. So does NHANES. So we have those. You can go into different data sets inside those different source packages. And then all these different variables your students can play around with and pick. And so again, all of these kind of have the same format. Some of them also have an explanatory variable. This one doesn't have an explanatory variable. You can look at the graphs a little bit bigger. You can see kind of what's happening with these 2 graphs. You can move around these informations and find your z-scores and so forth. That was not probably the best example. You can take samples, so you can show how things change. You can turn on different things. You can say, I want to look at mean and median and have that be my center and so forth. And then you can even freeze one and then compare it and then do another sample. And then you can show to your students how samples change and how that variability changes. So this is very visual activities. All right, we do have another Zoom poll. So we'd like to know which of the technologies we actually use today would you like to see in future workshops? So if you participate in this one, that'd be great. Got a few more seconds. You want to answer some more? I should mention with the website, we will be transitioning to the MAA Connect website. So again, there's a video on our website that shows you how to connect to that MAA Connect. You do not need to be a member of the MAA to be on the MAA Connect for StatPREP community. And then we will be transitioning to that in a few minutes. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. I think most people have responded who's going to respond. And so it looks like people really like the Padlet. And then we can, you know, as a stats teacher, I'll go, well, okay, that's great. We have that, but we also didn't get a huge sample. So we can't really say that that's always the thing to go with. But I do like Padlets too. I think they're useful. And I'm not a big Kahoots fan because I don't like competitions, but that's just me. All right. We'd like to thank you for coming to this. We love doing these webinar series throughout the years with StatPREP, and we hope that you will be able to attend some of the things we're doing this summer. If not, there are recordings for all the webinars we've done. Last summer's workshops, we recorded just the ones on data science. The other ones were not recorded, but there are recordings of webinars that did some of the materials. Some of the RStudio stuff is there, and so forth. Are there any comments or questions that you would like to ask us? Well, I want to thank you all for being here. We will be, like I said, going and creating these MAA notes. So please look out for those for the future. They will probably not be out until next year sometime, but there'll be an exciting place for you to go to help you change how you're doing things in your courses. The whole